Join our membership program, sign up, find out what's going on, become a patron, and support our work. We're doing these amazing virtual live streams covering events, marches, protests, and actions that mainstream media just isn't covering.
A lot of these very common sense policy interventions aren't given the space they need.
You know, the truth is, before we have the political revolution, we need a media revolution.
We really see this opening in the media space with television transitioning to the internet in particular. Streaming platforms, Netflix, Hulu, etc., are the next frontier.
And we're not mainstream media. You're not getting a 10-second clip and a very watered down, whitewashed version of what's going on.
Having a media company to support these kind of movement efforts is extremely valuable.
People want to talk to us because they know that we're talking to the people.
We need a dedicated, empowered, honorable base of people who are willing to fight for what they believe in.
This needs to be all of us, not just like watching great content, not just sharing great content, but taking the correlated action and making sure that together these movements are more effective across the board.
We are amplifying activist messages, activist movements, activist campaigns, activist call to action. There's no more important work to be done in this country right now, and ACT TV is doing it, and we need you to be a member. Go to ACT.tv and sign up to be a member today.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
Today is Thursday, March 31st, 2021. Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show. As always, I am joined by my brother from another mother, Dr. Carl Mack. We'd like to bring him directly into the conversation. Dr. Mack, it has been an eventful week on many fronts. I want to really just share my shirt with everyone. The shirt that I'm wearing says, "Kind people are my kind of people." I don't know, Dwayne, if you can get the whole shirt there. We'll show it later on. It's just something that I picked up along the way. Kind people are my kind of people. And it was a lesson that our kids, we had already this morning in homeschooling, discussing kindness. And the thing is, Dr. Mack, in my particular category, sometimes it's kindness that's taken advantage of, and it's not to toss away the idea that we should be kind, because kind people are my kind of people. But there's a balancing act in life and reality that we quite simply have to be able to know when to be kind and when to fight, and sometimes fight like hell. Good morning to you, Dr. Mack. How are you?
Fine, my brother, and you are definitely my kind of people.
Bless you, brother. Bless you, man. Bless you. I just I've been dealing with this in terms of politics, in terms of international politics, in terms of all the things that we're fighting. It really sort of boils down to some people not really wanting to live in a society that doesn't look or feel or worship or live like they do. And it's not completely and totally reduced to that. There's so much more to it. But I'm finding more and more often that we're dealing with people that are not only struggling with greed, but just struggling with the simple fact that they want to be able to dictate the lives of how other people live their lives. And that's one thing. And then here at the morning show, one thing I'm glad about, Dr. Mack, is that we're able to bring the news to the people without breaking the people. That's one of our mandates, is to be able to break the news to the people without breaking the people, because so much is happening around the world that it is a lot to digest. But as always, we start this morning show with a moment in Black history so that we can understand the lens through which we should view the world is through the lens of history. So, hey, Google, what happened today in Black history?
On May 25th, 1935, at the Big Ten Championships, Ohio State's Jesse Owens had what many called the greatest single day in the history of man's athletic achievements, tying and breaking multiple records. On August 9, 1936, he won 4 track and field gold medals at the Berlin Olympics. The victories of Owens and other Black American medal winners struck a blow against racist lies of the ruling Nazi regimes, and dictator Adolf Hitler began to avoid meeting any gold medalists at all. Jesse Owens passed away on March 31, 1980, adapted from Black Heritage Day 4 calendar by author, lecturer, and civil rights activist Dr. Karl Mack.
The Ebony Antelope went to Ohio State. So for all those Buckeye fans, they certainly take great pride in knowing that our brother, as it stated, dealt a blow to white supremacy, because, clearly Hitler had this concept of the purity of the white race being superior. And our brother simply cast a shadow, a very dark shadow on that, if you will.
Absolutely.
As you were talking about kind people and the balance there, it brought to mind one of my more favorite speeches by Dr. King, and it's entitled Drum Major Instinct. And inside that speech, Dr. King said that there was an analyst, Sigmund Freud, who used to say that sex was the driving force inside of man. And he said there was another analyst, Alfred Adler, who came with a totally different perspective. It said that there was something inside of man that drives man to want to be first. And the analyst was Alfred Adler. And he says that inside of all of us is this desire to be first, this desire to be recognized. He said, even as a baby, our first cry is a cry for attention. He said, but not only does this instinct reside in man, where man wants to be the drum major, to lead the parade, to see his name in print, to get adoration, to get praise. He said, but this instinct can also be found in nations. And if nations try to push this instinct where they want to be first, they want to dictate, this could be a very dangerous. He says, so this instinct can go both ways. It could be one used for good, and it could be one used for evil. In the case of Putin and Russia, we see this instinct to dominate, to be first, as being evil. But King also talked about America having this drum major instinct and how it became perverted when you looked at the Vietnam War. But now, as he applied it to individuals, he said, all of us have this instinct. He said, the only people who are unhappy about this instinct of receiving praise is when that praise is going too much towards somebody else. He said, but the desire to want to be first is good. He said, but be first in love. Be first in wanting to feed the homeless. Be first in wanting to visit those who are in prison, to clothe the naked. So it's a good instinct if you use it for good, but it can also be a very perverted instinct if you use it for evil. And in the case of white folks, he talked about this instinct being inside of white folks where nothing more than their white skin makes them feel as though they are ordained to be first. So as you're talking about kind people and trying to balance doing the right thing aside from being skewed or being viewed as being weak, how do you find a balance there? And I think inside of Dr. King's drum major instinct, that I would employ everybody to go read that speech. It is one of his most revealing and powerful speeches inside man, for us to take a look at who we are and why we do what we do. And so when you think about people in Congress, you use the term greed. I've always said that the seductive drug that man can be addicted to is power. Because that quest to be powerful, to be right, to be over everybody's domain, it is a drug that has seen two groups of people try to sit at the table, reason and stupid. And I've always said the two of them do not have a logical, intelligent conversation.
That's absolutely right, Dr. Mack. And that's exactly, I appreciate you elucidating that fact, because it really directly connects to the next story, to the first story this morning. And I'm glad you set it up. Russia's continuous attack, despite scaled down pledge. Russia has made a pledge to scale down their attack on Ukraine and their war effort to seize the entire nation. But they have not lived up to that pledge. And we said as much yesterday as we consider the possibility that they would scale down. The sentiment amongst us on the show was that we will believe it when we see it. And this is according to Reuters. Russian forces have bombed areas of Kiev and a besieged city in northern Ukraine on Wednesday after promising to reduce attacks there in what officials have dismissed as a ploy by Moscow to stem its heavy losses and regroup for other offenses. As the war nears its fifth week, Russia has failed to capture any major city, but has managed to commit countless war crimes in the process. And this is, again, according to Reuters. And so, Dr. Mack, this seems to be a head fake, an opportunity for them to save face, if possible, because the number of Russian men, soldiers, women that are coming home in body bags, it is piling up. I believe Putin has a disaster on his hands.
Without question, he has a disaster on his hands. And so the real challenge here is that even if Putin were to pull out right now, he has made Russia and himself a worldwide pariah. What he has committed, the crimes that he has committed already, I don't know how he could be an effective, respected leader on the world stage moving forward. So that becomes the challenge. And I'm sure he's aware of that. And so now it's, I believe you've reached that point of no return. Hell, now that I'm out here and I've done what I've done, I might as well try and finish this thing. But at what cost? At an enormous cost. And so, again, even when we talk about, King's wisdom to us about the drum major instinct, you can see it so clearly in Putin. And now Putin has led a nation into a perverted sense of wanting to be first. It's an absolute tragedy of what we're looking at. So at this point, I don't know what cards he can play and thinks he can. Okay, even if he were to stop being, does the world now embrace him and say, hey, okay, we're glad you stopped. All's forgiven. Let's move on with this global society? that cannot happen, at this point. Somewhere there has to be a level of accountability that is held. I just watched the other night where the government of Australia was praising the president of Ukraine and pledging their support and literally calling Putin by name as a war criminal, as a pariah, as a bad man.
Right. You know what's I really would love to dovetail this conversation a little bit towards some of the propaganda, because it seems to me that calling Vladimir Putin a war criminal cost Joe Biden a little bit politically, but it really shouldn't, because the people who are attacking Joe Biden for correctly calling Vladimir Putin a war criminal, they're some of the same people who were a part of January 6th. They're some of the same people who are undermining this democracy. There seems to be a thread of treacherous, treasonous people in this country who are simultaneously undermining the United States of America, which they would never have done in any other scenario, right? We understand that it is a standing policy in this country when it comes to foreign policy. Politics ends at our borders. That has just been the standard. But we're not living in that day anymore, Dr. Mack. We're living in a day where Donald Trump will call on Vladimir Putin to, and we have this clip on it, but Donald Trump is calling on Vladimir Putin to assist him politically, domestically, by releasing damning information on Hunter Biden. This is how the Republican Party has devolved, and it seems to be quite anathema to everything they would have done in any other administration.
And Ben, it's not so much about what they would have done. I think we all sat here within the last 4 years, 5 years of watching Negative 45 in arguably the most powerful position in the world. And we watched, most of us would clearly say that if Putin was the puppet master, Trump was his puppet. And we watched that. And so to see the Democratic Party now in a situation where you have this tragic global event, now bring this level of criticism about Biden calling Putin a war criminal, as far as I'm concerned, looks like a duck, walk like a duck, quack. It is what it is. So
you took the words out of my mouth.
Would the Republicans rather hear a presidential leader call a vicious actor like Putin what he is? Or would you rather hear a president of the United States say, well, I think what he was doing was genius. It was genius what he did. Right. And then even further, Dr. Mack, Donald Trump is begging Vladimir Putin for help. During an interview on Tuesday, and this is according to CNN, during an interview on Tuesday, former President Donald Trump referenced unproven claims regarding the business dealings of Hunter Biden in Russia and called on Russian President Vladimir Putin to release any damaging information he has about the Biden family. We have a clip of that. Let's take a look at it.
This. And one thing while I'm on your show, as long as Putin now is not exactly a fan of our country, let him explain because Chris Wallace wouldn't let me ask the question. Why did the mayor of Moscow's wife give the Bidens, both of them, $3.5 million for them? That's a lot of money. She gave him $3.5 million. So now I would think Putin would know the answer to that. I think he should release it. I think we should know that answer. Now, you won't get the answer from Ukraine.
Now, CNN called the request an example of Trump's willingness to solicit political assistance from foreign powers, including Putin, despite Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. So, yes, during the middle of a war in which the sitting president of the United States is doing what he can to hold the balance of power on the national stage, you have the former president, Negative 45, actively asking our global rival for assistance in our domestic politics. I'm sorry, that's treason. Even if it doesn't meet the height of the letter, we cannot. I mean, I don't know, Dr. Mack. What say you?
Man, again, if ever you want to think about democracy being under attack, you got a former president in the middle of a war in which the leader, the aggressor in that war, is committing war crimes, and you come on and try to, and again, look how he tries to say, which is a classic Trump, where, that's wrong, but that really ain't wrong kind of scenario. So now you have a former United States president asking a war criminal, a dictator, for help to get involved in American politics. You got the wife of a sitting U.S. Supreme Court justice.
That's right.
Somehow having ties to an insurrection on an attack against democracy. And now you got half of the political power in this country, the Republicans.
That's right.
Who seem to have no problem putting democracy second, if not third, their own interests first, their party second, and now democracy third. Ben, if we cannot see that there is an absolute assault on democracy, if we cannot see a change in tide in this country that is making things so much more difficult. My mother said it best. When you said this has been a hectic week, my mother called me and she said, baby, this world is going to hell in a handbasket.
Come on, son. Come on, mama. Come on. That's it. That's all. I mean, that's what we're looking at. Dr. Mack, I want to ask you, but there's another story here. We'll get to it before we get out of here. But I actually want to pause, right? Because a lot of times we cover the stories and we don't get a chance to really digest the underlying issue here. And one of the things about this that bothers me so much is that there's a faction in the Black community, and as well as in, let's just say, progressive, liberal, white, non-Republican communities. Let's just say that understands America's history and understands that America has committed war crimes too. Okay. But in this moment, when we see a coup happening, I think anyone who denies that is intentionally denying it. You mentioned the Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas and his wife, who was complicit in the activities of January 6th. The sitting president at the time, -45, Donald Trump. We now have 7 hours and I believe 37 seconds of missing records from January 6th. We have organized operations, the 3%ers, Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys, the Boogaloo Boys, who are actively in the streets all over the country fighting, literally fighting, killing people. But we have people, Dr. Mack, who sees all of this evidence in one category, and they look at America and say, America is a bad actor. So let's just throw our hands up and say nothing, do nothing. Let's not put our attention on the coup that's happening in real time. My dilemma is this, Dr. Mack. I've only got one home. And as raggedy as America can be, has been, and probably still will be for some time, it is the only home that I, as a Black American, has for 7 generations back. So the blood of my family is in this soil. So I do have some skin in the game here. So I can't just sit back and look at that coup and just say, well, America's been screwed up all along. Why should I get involved in that white on white violence?
I mean, make no question about it. This is our home. It bought and paid for. And when we say, Ben, this is our home, we're not saying it because we're drunk with some illusion that we're just Americanized. No. Our ancestors have built this nation, and I'd be damned if we're going to give this thing up. That is not going to happen. But, when you started off, you said, you like kind people. The kind of people you like are kind people. Leadership in this world is a very, very difficult task. And let me just digress just a minute to try to draw this parallel, Ben. The situations that happen at the Academy Awards, all of us, you and I, those at home that are listening, we have spoken to so many people about what happened. And it's amazing how all of us saw what appeared to be a simple, tragic act. But the conversations around it have gone into every kind of direction you can imagine. It doesn't appear to be as simple as some of us think. It seems to be far more complex to others. And that was on something as simple as what we saw that looked pretty, Will Smith was wrong. But now it comes into Will was wrong, Jada was wrong, Chris was wrong. This is why it happened. That's why it happened. So if something like that could be so complex, now try to imagine the position that Biden is in trying to govern the U.S. behind this situation. You know, very, very complex. From a Black perspective, there are things that you can look at the Biden administration and say, from a Black perspective, good. You know, when you look at his cabinet, 24, you know, he's got a cabinet of 24 full members. Of that, 6 are Black. Of course, we're now seeing the nomination for the first Black woman to be on the Supreme Court justice, to be on the U.S. Supreme Court. We've watched the first Black vice president. So there's a lot of things that we can look at him and go, not bad, Biden, not bad. But then there's some other things we can look at and go, you trifling son of a gun.
Come on now.
Voter suppression being right. The situation we saw yesterday where all of a sudden, because of their white skin, you're not going to convince me that the Biden administration didn't know that these Russian refugees were allowed in. And at the same time, we watched that same president stand on stage and talk about how absolutely uncalled for it was to have men on horses beating our Haitian refugee brothers. I'm not going to call them Haitian. I'm going to call them what I call me, our Black folk coming in.
That's right.
He said, now we watch him on a global scale. And in my estimation, turn the leaving of Afghanistan into a soup sandwich. Now you try to say, you know, look at Ukraine. Here, Ukraine had the 3rd largest stockpile of nuclear weapons. And in our quest for world peace, we said to Ukraine, come on, family, give up your nukes. We got you. If anything happens, the world will protect you. So Ukraine did that. And what did we do when the big bully, Putin, invaded Ukraine? Now, all of a sudden, everybody's want to start talking about the rules of NATO. You know, if I'm the Ukrainian people, I'm saying, where were those rules beforehand? So Biden is now stuck in that situation of what do I do? On one hand, I know that him going into invading Ukraine is uncalled for, shouldn't happen. But now America's war weary. We've been in Afghanistan for 20 daggone years, man. We're tired of this thing. We're trying to keep NATO together. So all of these pieces, that's why I say I wanted to compare, you know, just being in a position as a world leader to something as simple as us trying to understand what happened at the Academy Awards. As complex as that seemed to be. Now just try to imagine managing on a world. So when you say the kind of people you like are kind people, we, even you and I, as we talk about these issues, in the case of folks who are trying to do the right thing, but are caught into some very difficult situations, we have to show some level of understanding as well. But now on the case of folks like Negative 45, I mean, you make it pretty easy to understand that your moral compass is absolutely not a true north. You are directly south. You're a bad actor. And I don't have any problems calling out bad actors. So this position that we have, Ben, it's a challenging position for us as well, because we want to be kind. But at the same time, damn it, we got to
knuckle up here, man.
You got to call BS BS, and you got to hold folks accountable. So, man, it's man. In the words of Doc, it is a morass, isn't it?
Yeah, Doc, it is a situation where we have to constantly, the advantage that our opponents have, they are our political rivals. Make no mistake about it. If the conservative movement has, if they have their way, they would erase the entirety of the 20th century, right? So they are our political rivals. And we're in a situation where they have the advantage. They do not have the responsibility of wading through the details, of wading through the nuance, of wading through the particulars, of giving the proper context. They have no responsibility to that. All they do is get on stage and say the most absurd thing that they could possibly say. That is the disadvantage. That is the asymmetrical nature of this fight that we're in, Dr. Mack. So when you say Moraz or you bring up Dr. King, we are literally dealing with a political situation in this country where our opponents are trying to overthrow the Constitution. Let's be real. This country has served those January 6ers well. They are trying to overthrow the Constitution, Dr. Mack.
You know, the advantage I thought you were going to say that they have, and I have to agree, you know, to me, here's their real advantage. Their real advantage being is that they don't have a conscience. Because they don't have a conscience, they'll do or say whatever they need to do or say to keep that addiction of power at play. See, part of our problem is we want to play fair. And sometimes,
that's right.
Sometimes, Ben, I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes, Ben, I like to just take this, I like to take the towel.
Come on, Doc.
Ben, I
sometimes,
like to, even when I got a white suit on, Ben, sometimes I like to just get in that pig pen right with them. And I like to get dirty, nasty, and ugly. And I want to take that I know which shed and give him the business.
I'm back. Listen. So I'm in the session with my kids this morning. Like, we start early, and they're talking about being kind on this podcast, and my red flags are going off because I'm like, listen, one thing, my family, we don't have a problem with being kind. We're kind people. It's just wired in us. We're not perfect people, but we do make the effort to be kind. So I'm listening, and I'm like, I need y'all to get the other side of the sentence. This is what I used to say closing my show every night for years. When you can be kind, but when you can't, take no prisoners. And I think we have to be able to turn on a dime and know that when we can be kind to people, we can. But we have a coup happening right now. We don't have time to play by the rules because the rules are set against us, Dr. Mack. If we play by their rules, then those white supremacists of January 6th are ready to overthrow the Constitution if we play by their game.
But Ben, that is, again, I don't know any better way to say it. I mean, Ben, go back to when President Obama had as his presidential right to appoint a justice to the U.S. Supreme Court. And them fools said, no, we're not going to play by the rules. We're not going to play fair. And they held it off. And then the unthinkable happened. As I think Kelly said, or maybe Nomika said yesterday, we took negative 45 for granted. We didn't believe it was possible. That fool gets in. And that U.S. Supreme Court pick that rightfully belonged to President Obama to make now became his crowning jewel to be able to appoint that. So again, our quest to be morally conscious such that our drum major instinct is working for humanity. That's where the saying being, don't take my kindness for weakness. Because we want to be fair. Those on the other side, we have seen time and time again, they don't give a damn about being fair. Those Russian immigrants who came in, for us, we can see them as human. We understand what they're running from. Okay, let them in. Because we're looking at the content of their character. That's right. But they let them in because they saw the color of their skin. Our brothers and sisters, all they saw was the color of their skin. So it is a situation. And so, being as much as we want to be kind to kind people, when it calls for, we are going to place our proverbial foot up their ass.
Come on, Doc. Absolutely. Listen, we're going to go to a really quick break. Coming up at 8:30, which is in a couple of seconds, we're going to be joined by Senator Nina Turner, who's running for Congress in the 11th Congressional District of Ohio. We will be speaking to her about all the things that are happening in the news today. We'll be back with more of the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show right after this.
And I'm going to put my tie back on.
I'ma ride for the squad, let her ties in the hearse. I've been on the vibe, kinda hard to describe. I'm in between, I'm good and it's fine, but I'm tired of the grind. Then I come alive in the night to realize I'm in the middle of the time of my life. I'm never so packed.
To the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show. We are on the clock with Georgia Ford. Good morning, Sister Ford. How are you this morning?
Good morning. Doing better now that some of the snow is melting.
Absolutely. And as always, we are here with Dr. Carl Mack. Good morning to you, my brother. Dr. Mack, it wouldn't be the pandemic if we weren't still on mute in Zoom. I want to move on. We're excited this morning. Friend of the show and just a dynamic leader extraordinaire, Senator Nina Turner is with us this morning. Senator Turner, first and foremost, thank you so much for joining us and good morning to you. How are you this morning?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be with all of you. I'm mighty fine, blessed and highly favored. As Charlemagne would say, Black, blessed and highly favored.
Black, blessed and highly favored. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I want to bring you into the conversation about so many of the things that are happening around the country and quite frankly, around the world. And I also want to give mention of your campaign that's happening in I believe it's the 11th district of Ohio. Is that correct?
That is.
That is correct. That's I have family up there in Cleveland, in the Cleveland area. So shout out to the 11th District of Ohio. I want to get everyone's take on this next story, Senator Turner. 4.4 million people in the United States quit or changed their jobs in February. And this is a part of the great resignation that is ongoing. According to CNN, in the midst of the pandemic and war-fueled economy, Americans have continued to switch jobs at near record rates. In February, there were 11.3 million jobs in the United States, just slightly more than economists had predicted. There was an increase with 4.4 million workers leaving their positions in a historically tight labor market. Senator Turner, I know you're fighting for, whether it's a campaign or not, you're constantly fighting on behalf of labor and fighting on behalf of workers. How does this sit in your calculus?
Well, it's the workers are making a demand in a collective way, and I'm really glad to see it. And a lot of this started last year, as we all know, with labor unions at various places, from John Deere to nurses to coal miners, standing up saying we deserve better wages, better benefits, and better work conditions. And so what we see happening is that workers are using their might and their power to demand higher salaries, better work conditions, and better benefits. And I'm here for it. We need to do more of it in a more collective and deep way, because although workers are doing this, we know that wages are still, in a holistic view, are not keeping up with inflation. And that inflation is being caused by excessive greed, primarily by the excessive greed of these corporations. So I'm really glad to see workers flexing their muscles, and we must do more of it.
That's right. That's right. Sister Ford, we've covered this quite often. The increase in the cost of gas, the increase in the cost of coffee and food, despite record profits, it seems to be that a lot of Americans have gotten hip to the game and they're taking it into their own hands.
Absolutely. And I think, as Nina Turner said, wages plays a huge role. I also think culture within these workplaces plays a huge role. When you have a corporate culture that really only gives a bereavement policy of 1, 2, maybe 3 days, people are tired of constantly having to put the corporation before their own family, and in many cases, even before themselves. After the murder of George Floyd, I remember hearing from a lot of my friends who are professionals in these corporate companies that there just was not space for them to process or unpack the trauma that they had witnessed on television or in their own community. And so I also think the Great Resignation, it symbolizes the desire for so many Americans to take back their power, to really truly acknowledge their worth and create spaces for themselves where they're able to bring in income for their family without having to compromise their values, without having to compromise their mental health. And so I think, and I hope that it is a signal to corporations to do better, to create more holistic policies for their employees, because without them, they really have nothing.
Dr. Mack.
Well, first of all, Senator Turner, good morning to you, and Queen Ford. So I didn't get a chance to say good morning. So good morning to you both. I look at it just a little bit different. You know, if we use just the title, The Great Resignation, it would lend to think that people just resigned from their jobs and didn't do it. And we have to remember that the unemployment rate in this country right now is 3.8%. So this is what I think is happening. It's not only greed, but it's greed from this perspective. We have watched an increase in the minimum wage go up. And I think the greed that American corporations are now looking at is saying, look, if we are going to pay them a higher minimum wage, then it would stand to reason that we could get that money back by simply increasing the prices on common everyday goods of Americans. A loaf of bread, dozen eggs, everything that you could imagine. So there, you know, I think the sinisterness of what they have done is that, yes, by law, we, you know, Senator Turner, you and others have pounded the table that we need to pay American workers a livable wage. And these son of a guns, Amazon, all the likes of Walmart, you name them, that increased the minimum wage, turned right around and said, let's get the money back by increasing our prices on things that we know we don't have to have an increase. And I think when you look at the reports that came out of Wall Street, where these companies were doing their quarterly reports and earnings, they literally said that they raised their prices because they could. So that is the other aspect of the greed of this nation. On one hand, they want to increase the minimum wage, and on the other, for no other reason than just greed, they'll simply turn around and create this inflationary situation by raising prices when they don't really have to, outside of greed.
Senator Turner, I want you to get the last thought on that particular story.
Yeah, no, amen. Dr. Mack is right. I think we're all pretty much saying the same things. We're just saying it differently. And that's why we need government to check these fools. And that's exactly what they are. They are unpatriotic and they are immoral. And the reason why they get away with this is because government, especially the federal level of government, is not saying, to quote my grandmother, a ne'er word. They're not saying anything, but they're in the pockets of these folks. So you can't serve two masters, and you certainly can't challenge any system that you are benefiting from individually. And so it's time to call out not just these corporations, but what is the federal government that has the biggest stick doing to call out this corporate greed that is absolutely destroying this nation and this world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sister Turner, have you had a chance to, I know you're campaigning, have you had a chance to watch any of the proceedings or the clips of Ketanji Brown Jackson? And how have you been able to process seeing a Black woman at the height of her professionalism have to deal with the drivel that she's been given by some of these Republican senators?
Oh, no, I absolutely had a chance to watch much of it, made that time to do that. And it was insulting. It definitely hurt. And you know what? The Democrat, even though she is going to be confirmed, she will be Justice Ketanji Brown. You better believe that. And all them fools, another set of fools, and they're challenging her from Rubio to Lindsey. You know, it's one thing to ask questions. It is another thing to do what they did to her. And she did handle it. But as a lot of people are saying, we sick and tired of Black women, especially having to just handle things, grace under pressure. She was all of that because she is all of that. There's a however. Those Democrats in that committee should have went ham on the Republicans as soon as they stepped out of place. You know how Big Mama used to do. At least my mama. I remember my mama being in a store one day, and one of my siblings was acting out, and she went to the belt department and she told the lady, "I just want to borrow this. I ain't buying it. I just want to borrow it. Yeah, I just want to borrow it." So yeah, they should have went ham on those fools. I hate that she had to go through that and not have backup. She didn't have the requisite backup because too many Democrats are trying to be dignified in situations where it ain't time to clutch the pearls. It's time to take them suckers off.
That's right. Dr. Mack, that goes right to what we were just talking about, right? So we have this thing, I don't know if it's culturally or is it human nature to want to be kind, but we're going to have to turn on a dime because, to be quite honest with you, while she is going to be confirmed, right? Well, she is going to be confirmed, as you can see on the screen, with bipartisan support. According to The Guardian, Maine Senator Susan Collins is going to cross the line and vote for her. Ted Cruz is afraid that Mitt Romney is going to vote for her and get her confirmed. She's going to be confirmed. But I'm with Senator Turner. I feel like there should be more fight in our leaders when it comes to this kind of situation. What are your thoughts, Dr. Mack?
Well, Ben, again, that's what we talked about earlier. There's this, that is the advantage. If there's an advantage to the Republican side, it is their lack of a moral compass, it's their lack of consciousness that'll enable them to do whatever, say whatever it takes to make their point. They don't care about fairness. And so to Senator Turner's point, there, as I, what I basically did, Ben, at the end of the show, I said, it comes a time when you have to take this tie off. And even if I got a white suit on, if we got to get in that pig pen, I'm all about that business. And again, even when we look historically at what has happened to Black women, when I watched Judge Jackson under Grace deal with that situation, Ben, I flash back, and Sister Turner, Sister Ford, I flash back to Anita Hill. When I watched that sister under fire, just hold up in a phenomenal way. It took me back to Bill Clinton when Lonnie Guinier was talking about in her writing of voter suppression. And now the knuckleheads on the Republican side, the idiots on the Republican side want to now call her a quota queen. But the very things she was writing about are the very same issues we're talking about. And Bill Clinton is supposed to be down with Black folks, the first quote unquote Black president. What did he do? Like all the rest of them, he turned his back. He did exactly what Malcolm said. Malcolm said the most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. Unappreciated, the most unprotected. And what did Clinton do? The supposedly I'm down with Black folks do. In addition to signing the 3 strikes bill, he left that sister out and withdrew his nomination, calling her unpatriotic. I still remember you, Clinton. And for me, that's your 4th damn strike.
I hear that. I hear that. Sister Ford.
I know we talked about this before as well, but, I think it speaks volumes to Ketanji's character, and why she is the best candidate for the seat. Unfortunately, there is a culture now within our government that continues to allows us to persist. And it's toxic and it's very unpatriarchy. And I don't know where we truly go from here. How do we root that culture out of our government? It seems as though, it's been there probably since the inception of our country, but it has really started to rear its face since Trump. And I can't help even but think, we've talked so much about the slap at the Oscars, and there's a portion of our community that looks at Will now as this man who committed assault and, should be held responsible for his consequence. Yet and still those same people will look at those white folks who stormed the Capitol on January 6th as patriots. And so how has our perception of what it means to be a patriot, how has it become so tainted and so jaded that when people are standing up and when they have the ethics and the morality that it takes to hold a position like this, they're still subject to this ignorance? To me, it just feels like we have digressed as a culture. Our government to tolerate this type of behavior is so unprofessional. And for these to be the men and women who are in positions of leadership, who are supposed to be representing us, it's really disheartening.
Before I move to this next story, this Senator Turner, if you want to jump in there, because the thing that is troubling to me is that we seem to see it. We seem to see the writing on the walls. We seem to see the signals. We notice that there's something wrong with patriotism in this country. We notice that there's a virus. But, I don't know if those that are in power on our side, God bless them. I don't know. The Democrats seem to see the urgency of this moment.
No, they don't see it, and their failure to see it is going to cause a shellacking, to quote the former president at another midterm point. During the midterms, you got to give people something they can feel. I know all of us remember the ladies group In Vogue, which was one of my favorites, and one of those songs, giving them something he can feel. Let's replace him with them or the people. We got to give the people something they can feel to let them know the love is real, and that is not happening. It's all of this whispering sweet nothings in people's ear, but they are absolutely doing nothing to change material conditions. And to a point, Ben, that Dr. Mack made about Professor Lonnie Guinier, it made me think about Surgeon General Elders. I think I have her name right. She was the Surgeon General. She was done wrong, too, over a comment that she made and just left out to the wolves. That happens far too many times to black people in general, but black women in particular. And to what Sister Georgia said, all I could say is, amen. I had a few of my friends say we needed some of that Will Smith action in that Senate hearing, figuratively, not physically, but figuratively. Right. We needed some Will Smith action during the hearings for Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. We needed some of that. Yeah.
Senator Turner, I'll say this, given the nastiness of it, I could have done it literally, I'm just.
I should have seen that coming.
I'm trying to be good.
We are not trying to bail you out.
Listen. The thoughts expressed on this show are not accredited to Senator Turner, who's running for office. By the way, tell us about your race that's happening in
Dixon. Thanks for pulling me out of that, but I can't understand. At least I can understand. I'm not.
That's all you gotta say. That's all you gotta say is, Brother Mac. That's all you gotta say is, Brother Mac. I don't agree with you, but I do understand.
There you go. All right. So the 11th Congressional District of Ohio, Cleveland, Akron, love both cities. East Cleveland back in 91 was my heyday. Boys to Men, Belle Biv DeVoe. It was just an amazing place to be. Tell us about your district and why the people, I know why. There's no question why they should support you, but tell the people why they should be supporting you from the 11th District.
Oh, my God. And the district will be slightly different, Dixon. We finally got lines, and so we think. The GOP here have been doing battle with our Ohio Supreme Court that ruled that the lines were unconstitutional, both the legislative lines and the congressional lines. It has been such a cluster. People not knowing whether they're going to vote on May the 3rd, who they're going to vote for. You talk about trauma. They are definitely traumatizing the electorate here in Ohio, but that's what the Republicans do best because they try to suppress and confuse voters so that there will be a low voter turnout. But as it stands, Akron will have its own district at this point. All of the city of Cleveland will now be in the 11th Congressional District with some of those suburban communities you just named, Dixon. People need to vote. We need folks who are ready to fight for the people who are willing to put something on the line. And I am one of those people. Certainly not one person can do it all, but if you get 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, y'all know where I'm going with this. You have many ones that combine that have a consciousness to stand up and to fight systems, to tear down systems, to reimagine a place where the poor, the working poor, and the barely middle class can indeed live very good and excellent lives. That is what government is designed to do for us, that collectively what we cannot do as individuals. And baby, yes, we can have nice things. We need leaders who understand that this hegemon nation that we call the United States of America has the capacity and the resources. So this ain't just a hope and a dream and a prayer. We have the resources to ensure that people can live a good life. It just depends on who you elect and whose side they really are on. Well, I am on the side of having Medicare for all. I am on the side of having people be able to unionize and not have fear that they are going to lose their jobs. Hello, Starbucks and Amazon. I am on the side of people having paid family and medical leave, those people who punch those clocks, not living in fear that if they get sick or somebody they love gets sick, that they are somehow going to lose their job because they are human. I am on the side of securing and expanding access to the ballot box and not equivocating on it Hello, somebody. I am on the side of showing the requisite emotion and outrage and love and compassion and empathy that is necessary for the situation. And so far too many people in this country are suffering. We got billionaires now that are sin billionaires. I don't even know what Dr. Robert Reich is. He done created a whole new name for these folks. It is a sin and a shame that we live in a nation and the world where so many people have so little and so few people have so much. We got to start checking these folks, whether they're elected or whether they navigate corporate spaces. It is immoral. That's what it is. We're not going to play with it. And it is unpatriotic. So Senator Turner, Sister Senator Turner, now I'm an athlete referring to myself in the third person. I am running.
That's it.
I have arrived.
I love it.
It's an athlete mentality. No, I am running service to the people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Senator Turner, I'll say this. I could count on one hand a number of people that I've made a pledge to financially in their run for politics. And I'm honored to have supported you in your run for political office. And thank you so much for being the fire that we so desperately need as a people and speaking that truth to power.
Thank you, Dr. Mack and Dixon. Thank you so much. And Sister Georgia. And just thank the family for all of your support. Yeah. NinaTurner.com, though, for the other folks who want to check me out. Go to NinaTurner.com.
Please go to NinaTurner.com. And also, next time when we have you on, I want to talk about last week we had on Professor Harvey Kaye and Alan Minsky, and we talked about the Economic Bill of Rights. I know you're tied into that entire operation. I don't want to hold you much longer. Senator Turner, I thank you for what you're doing and for standing on the wall, even through all that you've been through. I've been watching your trajectory since 2015, and I'm excited to see it go even higher.
Thank you, Ben Dixon. I appreciate you, and I look forward to coming back to talk about the 21st century Economic Bill of Rights. And shout out to PDA and Dr. Harvey Kaye, to Alan at PDA and Dr. Harvey Kaye. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. Coming up next, we're going to be talking with Jordan Sheridan of Status Quo about the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more of the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show right after this.
Gas, no breaks, baby, let them hoes sleep. Body on 10, make your girl OD. I get in my way, never out of my lane. Feel like you the one and I'm on one. So what it's gonna be? Baby, squad up, we finna go deep. Is you riding on a team? I got what you need. Baby, won't you keep me company?
All right, good morning. Somebody said that you were looking for me. Well, here I am, and here I be. It's your boy James Williams. Exclusive is in the building. Good morning, y'all.
Baby, I think you should slide with me. Stay solid one time.
Hey, y'all.
Just promise you never.
Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned, man. Like it or not, coming up next. Don't want to miss it. Y'all stay tuned.
I know it's all good. Know it's all love. Know it's all love. I've been feeling like the man lately. Can't nobody do it like I can. Daily, baddest in the land. Body turning.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Shout out Mama and Daddy. Good morning, A.R. Walker, Amber, XO Bob, 1ATL Country Boy, LB, Roller Dragon. Good morning, Smash. What's going on? Rebecca S., Laura Estrada, Laverne Rose. Good morning, y'all. Roller Dragon, Environmental Coffee House. Good morning, everybody. Latina, what's going on? Shade Dragon. Good morning. Snack Panther, what's going on? Judy, good morning.
If you lie with me, just promise you never lie to me. Keep the moves on tuck. I know it's all love. Everything good. Keep the vibes on crush. I know it's all good.
Lily, good morning. Bryce, good morning. Fox Banana, good morning to you. Shoot the Dragon, good morning. Glenn, good morning to you. Glenn Tiger, what's going on? Boondock Dragon, good morning. Brendan Johnson, good morning. Lateef, what's going on, brother? Good morning to you.
I think I let my guard down.
Certain things ain't the same now. Hard to navigate these problems. I'm by myself, you're not around. I try to open up.
Big Please, good morning to you. Craig on, Lemon, good morning. Buster Be Good, good morning. No Humanist, good morning to you. Shout out to everybody on Twitter, man. Love you, sharing on Facebook. Levi, good morning to you. Jason Marks, good morning.
Heart turned cold, lost control. Looking at this beautiful distraction. Fell in love with a fatal attraction. I really let my guard down, now relaxing. Why did I open up? She taking way too much. Put in my all and got nothing back. I'm feeling so ashamed. I fell into your game. Why you gotta do me like that? Don't say you love
Brown, good morning to you.
Leave me. It can't get ugly. Trust and believe me.
Dragon Dane, good morning. Esther Brooks, good morning, Esther.
Gave you all of me, had me so deceived. You chose to leave my life, so I'm on my own in the cycle.
XOXO, it sounds like it, Bob. When I heard the song, I was like, this sounds like Lil Nas X. But no, it's actually not. This is No Borders. Jasmine Tapper, good morning.
We can take my Lambo. I'll put on a tight show. You sure you can handle? We be faster than Django.
Can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop.
T Twitty, good morning. This is Can't Stop, Won't Stop by Magnetism. Look, y'all, I was having trouble with my internet at the farm, so I moved the modem to the barn. Now I have stable Wi-Fi.
You sure you can handle? Okay. We can take my Lambo. I'll put on a tight show. You sure you can handle? We be faster than Django.
Y'all are terrible.
Can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop. Can't stop, can't stop, can't stop, can't stop, can't stop. Can't stop.
Jason Marks. Yes, good morning.
Can't stop.
I got an appetite, let's bake ourselves a treat. What you've been mixing, serve it up the way you please. I love the way you shake, you stir, you heat, you squeeze. So thick. Push up.
So was I with my young daughter and ran into a friend I'd not seen in years. This is Beth introducing my daughter, my kid or whatever. And he was like, what's Beth short for? He asked. Because she's only 3. I replied, why else would she be short?
We can cook up, we can syrup when we hook up, just you and me. With that cream, with that freak serving up like 5,000 degrees. It's almost ready, we've been craving this all week. Baby, you want it, I got it. I'm hooked on you like phonics, gotta be honest.
Is it crazy how saying sentences backwards creates backwards sentences, saying how crazy it is?
Whip that cream, baby, pour that sweet on me, baby.
Hey, Tiger, leave the dad jokes to me, Tiger, please. Thank you, Tiger.
Just you and me. Whip that cream, whip that
All right, y'all. It is time. We're like it or not. It's about to go down. So y'all, welcome back to the screen. Benjamin Dixon and Dr. Carl Mack. Good morning, y'all.
I think the focus on these identity politics brings both light to how malicious the Republican Party is and how they're so focused on keeping things the way they are, but also a lack of mobility in the Democratic Party. I mean, I want us to all be supportive. I want housing. I want like affordable rent. I want affordable health care, all these things. And I see a constant sad theme that there are these huge like the BLM movement, like there's these huge like supportive movements that are really important, but then they die within a year. And so it's just the election cycles happen and we have like Joe Biden in office, you know. And so with how much power can we fight with that man in office? And I think it's both an importance in seeing that these bills are stopping progress. We need to elect people in office who truly represent us and who will fight for us.
Well, I think you nailed it, because if you have a Republican Party that's viewed as fighting and exciting their base, even though they're fighting for terrible things, and you have a Democratic Party where there's only a couple progressives within that party fighting for affordable housing, while the rest of the party is taking money from Disney and real estate developers and basically corrupt. People are just going to vote for the Republicans, and there's a lot of people that will just sit it out because they're like, I know the Republicans are bad, but what are the Democrats doing to help my life?
The Democrats and the Republicans aren't even that different when it comes to like the political spectrum, like as a whole. And Republicans are going farther and farther right, and Democrats are saying, we should become more center to appeal to them. No, you should go farther left, and we need to mobilize, and we need to, exactly. We need to get people energized. We need to get people involved.
Joining me now is Jordan Sheridan of Status Quo. He's a journalist. Jordan, thank you so much for joining us. The clip that we just got through listening to is some of your journalism work. You were interviewing students in Florida as it pertains to Governor DeSantis's Don't Say Gay bill, signing it into law. The students there talking about the overarching issue of who's going to fight for us and who's not. Tell us a little bit more about that interview and your coverage of what's happening in the state of Florida.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I went down to Florida because in a crisis where rent is going up 30 to 50%, where homelessness is going up in Florida, where inflation in Florida is above the national average, which is already really high. Obviously, Florida is one of the bullseyes on the climate crisis. All these things are going on, but the Republican governor thinks the top priority is to make sure students with same-sex parents can't discuss their family in school. There's also the Stop Woke Act, which is another one of these, fantasy land Republican bills to stop the teaching of critical race theory in school, which is not actually happening, and to avoid white workers from feeling guilty of any racial discussion at the workplace or at school. So to me, these culture war issues are being weaponized and targeting people like those students I talked to, LGBTQ students, to just basically distract the masses from the economic crisis. I call it the economic Hunger Games that we're all living in. And it was really striking speaking with these students. The students I talked to said they're all on antidepressants, and most of them and their friends have felt suicidal because of the bullying and other things about towards LGBTQ students before this bill was signed.
Right. As if things weren't difficult enough. Listen, help us to understand the bill itself that has been signed into law. It has been come to be known as the Don't Say Gay bill. And you mentioned that if students have parents of the same sex, they're not able to bring that up. Help us to understand the nefarious nature of this. What actually is in the bill?
Right. So a lot of people have been kind of sucked into, it's just kindergarten through third grade. Well, I had the unfortunate task of reading the bill. It is wide open and very vague. There is language in there that says or deemed age appropriate, which opens up any grade, including high school, where I was speaking with those students. And it basically outlaws the discussion of LGBTQ. It outlaws teaching LGBTQ history. It actually kind of deputizes parents that if they feel that this has been violated, they could sue the school district, which obviously makes teachers who already have been dealing with a lot with the pandemic and this and that have to pause in terms of what can they say, what can they teach, because they're afraid of being sued at the school district. It also, one aspect is it requires teachers to basically report students under certain circumstances to their parents as gay, which one of those students I talked to is literally homeless right now. She is couch surfing because a lot of students that come out, their parents don't accept it, and they end up being kicked out of the house. So that person could potentially be outed as a part of this bill to unaccepting parents by teachers who are required to.
So Jordan, when you say that, when we say it's a law and if you break the law, what is the penalty? What is the punishment? I get the lawsuit that would come. And on the second part of it is what's the punishment for a person that does it? And when we say they could be sued, is the lawsuit going to be against the teacher themselves or is it against the district?
Yeah. So as far as I know, there's no criminal penalties, but it's only Thursday. Give it until Friday to put that in the bill. But it's against the school district. So the school district would be sued. And if you know Florida or most of America, school districts are already severely underfunded.
That's right.
The school district would have to come up with the money to defend these lawsuits. And the other thing outside of just the criminal penalty is you already have a crisis of suicidal thoughts in the LGBT community. And in many places, LGBTQ people are making up 20-30% of the homelessness. So a lot of LGBTQ people, the safest place they have felt is school, where they could be open, talk to their guidance counselors, things like that. And now they not only teachers, but LGBTQ people have to be worried about what can I say? Can I talk about my family or a weekend away if I have a same-sex parents? It's a really cruel psychological thing being done to LGBT.
Now, Jordan, let me get this question as well. So,
yeah, please, sir.
Normally from my civics class, I'm thinking, the way that the law is passed is the state legislature, they approved it, and then the governor goes up and signs it. Or is this like an executive order that fell right into the hands of the governor only without any input from the state assembly?
No, this passed the Republican legislature in Florida's House and went to the governor.
Yep. Wow. And as a matter of fact, that's this next part. Governor Ron DeSantis is now retaliating or speaking out against Disney. Disney calls for the repeal of the very bill, Don't Say Gay bill. But this is, Jordan, this is a little bit after money from Disney has gone to support Republican candidates in that state for years. I mean, it's good that Disney is now calling for it to be repealed, but, they've been very supportive of Republican candidates for decades.
Yeah, and these same students, by the way, called out Disney and the whole pride capitalism complex, because Disney, Comcast too, which owns MSNBC, NBC, AT&T, which for the moment owns CNN, they've all given a lot of money to the Republican sponsors of this bill. And Disney gave kind of a ham-handed statement at the beginning of this, very vague, not really strong. And then they got severe pushback, including the fact that, not a lot of their movies depict LGBTQ characters. And then they came out strongly. So Disney essentially owns the government of Florida. They get massive subsidies and corporate welfare. But on this issue, they finally came out strongly after getting pushback, which unfortunately is typically how it works.
So Jordan, I just want to be absolutely clear here, and as simple as I can. Disney gave money to support the bill, and now Disney is coming out saying repeal the bill. Am I looking at that too simple?
I wouldn't say they gave money to support the bill, but they have heavily funded the Republicans who voted for it, and particularly the sponsors. So I don't really think they did not weigh in supporting the bill, but money talks. So they very quickly could have came out disowning this bill. That's right. Disowning the sponsors. They later came out saying they were pausing their donations to politicians in Florida, but didn't say these Republicans. Just said.
So Jordan, the reason I would say it, and I will contend that they absolutely knew. It's hard for me to believe that Disney, with the type of purse strings it has, what it gives money to, that they didn't know that bill was coming. And to say something after the fact, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to hold to the position that Disney funded that bill, because you don't give that kind of money, and it's not as though you don't know what's coming down the pike in the Florida State Assembly and did not see that. Now, am I wrong to assert that?
No, you're not. And I'll go a step further. Disney has people that are, political lobbyists, this and that.
Absolutely.
One of the sponsors of the bill years ago basically compared same-sex parents to child abuse. So they were giving money to that sponsor, a Republican, many years ago. I mean, they pay attention to people's records. And the fact of the matter is, the governor's press secretary came out calling this an anti-grooming bill. They were crickets on that too. So they absolutely know the positions on LGBTQ issues of the politicians they're funding. So yeah, I think it's an accurate statement.
And so for me, I want that message to be just that Disney absolutely knew. Let's not say that, well, we were giving money to the Republican Party, but we didn't know. No, Disney, you know everything. And then to be
that's right.
To be the juggernaut you are in the state of Florida, you trying to tell me that Disney, Mickey, Minnie, are you guys trying to tell me that you don't think you had the influence to stop this before it happened?
That's
you
right.
absolutely did. Right. And now you want to sit out and you want to try to clean this mess up.
Well, brother,
as far as the Ben Dixon Morning Show, Ben, let me just make this statement. Mickey and Minnie, we see you. We absolutely saw what you did. And now trying to come out there and say you didn't steal the cheese. No, you stole the cheese. We see it.
Bro, Mac, the only thing I wanted to add to this is that they've done this before. They did this with the voter suppression bills in the state of Florida, that they came out, Disney specifically came out after the fact, condemning the bill. Too little, too late. Jordan Sheridan of Status Quo, I know you got to get out of here. Thank you so much for keeping the pressure on and getting more information on this story for us.
Thank you, my brother.
And I urge your viewers, subscribe to Status Quo, COUP, so
Absolutely.
You can check out. We did a whole lot of reporting on other issues there, too.
Absolutely. Please go to his channels and support and subscribe. Jordan Sheridan, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks. Take care.
Dr. Mack, I believe DJ Exclusive is in the building, and I haven't checked Slack, so I don't know our current status. DJ Exclusive, how's it going, man? I believe DJ Exclusive is in the building. And wait, okay. I'm hearing an echo. That's what I was hearing. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. DJ Exclusive, what's going on, man?
Break, I think, because I think Rebecca should be coming in any moment. Do you want to keep going? Take a break? What we want to do?
Let's take a break. When we come back, more of the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show, like it or not, is getting ready to go down. We'll be back after this.
All right, y'all, make sure that you stay tuned. Rebecca is joining us next. Don't want to miss it, like it or not. Going down. Something deep within the soul, feeling that I'm never gonna see again. Feeling that I'm never gonna see again. Feel free, every time I'll be waking up for more. You and me, summer nights, lying naked on the floor. It's like your place, we have time and space. Feel like you're having more to breathe, soon to see. You just wanna make it fall, just wanna make it fall, just wanna make it fall. Just wanna make it fall, just wanna make it fall, just wanna make it fall. It was time, we loved us, it was only to the end. Making love, did you love? Did our best just to pretend? You would teach me that it's easy. We were more than just friends. Something deep within the soul, feeling that I'm never gonna see again. Feeling that I'm never gonna see again. Why isn't dark spelled with the C? Why isn't dark spelled with the C? Because you can't see in the dark. Yeah, no? Cool.
When I go with confidence, when I go we roll our hips and touch back, sip on it, take a trip on it. When I go you can go slow, wind it up all night, baby take your time, let me know I want. When you turn me around, I want. When the neighbors yell turn down, we keep it going, like pom pom pom. Throw it back then rotation, cigarettes and the season, shine bright as that season. Girl, you know you are a jam, 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 jam. Sounding like you're wasting every time. Jam, 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 jam. Sounding like you're wasting every time. We not like me, we not shine bright like royalty. We not sticky, but they are guilty.
Track Natasha, good morning. Hollywood, what's going on? Ryan, good morning. Sunny, right?
So big for me, and last weekend you had me thinking, oh, must get in and let my head up, like bum bum bum. Throw it back then rotation, cigarettes and the season, shine bright as
Dragon Dane, love you too. I appreciate you.
You know you are a jam 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 jam, jam 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 jam, jam 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 jam.
Carly, good morning.
Jam 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 jam, jam 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 jam, jam 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 jam. Sounding like you're wasting every time. Can't you, can you make me feel like we could do? Oh, you make me feel like we could do it all over again, all over again. Can't you make me feel like we could do? Oh, you make me feel like we could do it all over again, all over again. Jam 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 jam, jam jam
y'all. Not like it or not, it's going down. Like it or not, y'all stick around. Oh, Rebecca Ozone. Jacob, good morning. Just hearts. Good morning. Half Black Reaper, good morning to you. Yes, she is. Good story for you. Oh, KFC, what's going on? Six Dragon Daddy, good morning to you. Environmental Coffee House, you're welcome. Melanie Dennis, what's going on? I am your DJ. He just it right. DJ exclusive. Y'all know who I am. I stay dropping them jams. Like it or not, it's going down. Like it or not, y'all stick around. Elizabeth Lawson, good morning. Like it or not, it's starting now. Oh, like it or not, it's about to go down.
Like It or Not with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Rebecca,
good morning. Good morning. Good morning and welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth.
And not care who doesn't like it.
James, can we get through the intro before you say she looked like she about to set it off?
I'm sorry, she do. Rebecca be coming on with big energy, and I gotta acknowledge it all the time. So it's like she about to go set it off. She giving me, oh God, giving me Jada from set it off. Was this on purpose?
Oh look.
No, it wasn't. But you know, like I literally wake up and I have to choose a mood. So, you know, just like how I have a man for every mood I have to make sure that when I wake, I'm just kidding. For anybody who's watching.
I was about to say, girl, me too, girl. Let me start.
For anybody who's watching.
Yeah.
My bad.
Hold that tight. Hold that tight to the chest.
Yeah, just gotta keep it right up in here. Yeah, no, literally. Sometimes I wake up and I be like, what do I want to do today? How do I want to feel? Because me and Ole were talking about this online in the Twitterverse. She was just like, it just really is exhausting. Waking up every single morning having to fight racism and issues that are close and near and dear to us, and having to do this every day. Like we literally hold the weight of being Black every single morning in the world, and it's just tiring, on top of having to either put on a face, depending on where you work, put on a face so that you can abide by the rules of a particular corporate job, you know, and then look, us fighting the bad guys or highlighting issues that would never be highlighted in mainstream media, us having to package this up every day and then go live our lives, and then it just comes with so much. But we were talking about that this morning, and I'm just like, I am tired. I am the woman on the edge of the bed. You know, the painting. I think it's Annie Howard. I got to get her right. But Annie Lee, that Blue Monday painting. And I just am, when I say I'm tired, I am tired. But this morning I was just like, girl, you know, we got to do what we got to do for reasons as such. Yesterday I posted a clip, a literal, just tiny clip of me talking about Haiti. And how they're being treated, Haitians were being treated, as opposed to how Ukrainians and Russians and everybody who's been coming over here who happens to be white is being treated. But I was talking about that, and it be my own people sometimes. It be your own people, right? It be them. They literally saying that because it was, you know, my community reposted the video, but it was one person, it was a few people saying, I'm tired of everybody just talking about it. So I have to really let you guys know, it is is difficult to talk about it many times because, having to get up and having to have this conversation. But imagine me being in the space and not having these conversations. Not only am I having these conversations, I'm partnering with community lawmakers or people who are running, people are in positions to run, to be leaders in local areas here. And I'm telling them to add Haitians to their agenda when they talk about immigration. I'm telling them to challenge the local laws that are already in place to add Black immigrants to the agenda, to make sure there is no racism, prejudice in the immigration laws being made, right? I'm also rallying together with the community to protest against, anything that happens against Haitians, because those are my people. I use this platform, which, if I might not say so myself, we are hot, you know what I'm saying? So when we speak about these type of things on these shows, we get the information to people that probably wouldn't have gotten the information before.
That's right.
I've been told by people in Haiti that I am a voice for them. Not only that, I go to other
Rebecca came ready this morning.
I go to other shows and I literally let them know what's good, because these are conversations that wouldn't even happen in those areas, on those particular shows. They do not care to have those conversations. And also, I live this life. I'm Haitian. So I just say all that to say, I don't respond to the comments. Y'all see that. I don't any of that. But when it comes from my people, I have to check them at the front door, because I have to ask them, well, what are you doing?
And they say less after that, huh?
And that's just what that is. But, I'm tired. I'm just saying that I'm tired. It's hard out here trying to really be out here and be like, yeah, super Haitian. And it'd be like, after, I just want to lay my head down.
What's super Haitian?
Lay my head on my pillow.
Lay your head on my... What's super Haitian, though?
Well, super Haitian is just like being, super... You guys, super Black, all of us.
Super extra,
it's
just
like
super extra.
When you
black. I'm blackety black.
Super, yes. Okay. Like when you got to be the one to carry the torch. We all got to be the one to carry the torch every single morning. Not only I have to wake up and be this Black woman, I got to literally go and be the Black woman in a weird corporate space, and then I gotta come on here and be, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just all of that. Yeah, I ain't gonna say their names no more, because they really coming after me. But it's just hard. We all tired. I know that we are all sitting here and we are all tired in different ways. I hear Dwayne in the back with his baby girl. I know he tired. Don't like him, but I understand that he has his own tiredness too. I know David works 6 jobs. That part in there. Everybody in who's fighting this fight is just tired. And I almost feel like, you guys, do we get the opportunity to be tired? I feel like I'm ashamed to say I'm tired. Sometimes I'm ashamed to say I don't want to do it today. But it's like,
damn that. No. When I tell you I'm going to say it, I'm going to take my mental health day like I...
Mental health.
I'm say it, and I'm straight up, because at one point I wasn't, but I learned that if I don't, I'm gonna kill myself.
You're gonna go crazy. Listen, let me tell y'all something about this here work. This work right here in particular. Like, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of really hard work out here in this world. I've done some of it before. I am not currently doing it. I just want to put that caveat out there, right? I still run with cats that are in the warehouses for 12 hours a day. So I want to put that out there. There are real people who put their physical bodies on the line for 12, 18 hours a day. Shout out to them. Solidarity with all workers. But this work right here, this political commentary journalism, just keeping up with the news, this stuff will break you, right? It will break you emotionally, spiritually, physically, if you let it. And to accent what you're saying, one of our stories literally is talking about this. There's compassion fatigue from social media. According to Newsweek, there's a report that thanks to social media, the world has a front row seat for all of the terrible things that are happening every day. And it would seem that the whole range of human suffering is accessible anywhere with a cell phone. And as a result, America's mental health has taken a hit, according to a widely cited 2013 study of the impact of viewing graphic news footage on mental health. Vicariously experienced events can become collective traumas. So, yeah, we all tired out here.
How do y'all feel about that? And I do agree that now that a lot of this stuff has been going on for years, And now we just now seeing it because everybody is recording it with a cell phone. And yeah, I do think it does cause collective trauma, but I think it needs to be seen because you have those people in the world that are just so blind to everything that they don't see it. But these days you have to see it for yourself from somebody's phone that it is not edited or anything else. So this is real, and this is what people are actually going through. This is real life. I wish it was a game, but this is real. Life is real.
Right. That's right.
So Bubba, though, like you say, I agree with what you're saying, but does everybody see it? You know what I mean? Because
that was the other thing,
out of certain people's things. So is it just us that are getting fatigued, that is beaten down, that's seeing it all the time?
We out here tired for no reason.
Right.
No, you're right.
Aren't really seeing it.
It's true that there is a certain demographic that doesn't see things, but also because how the algorithm does place things. But at the same time, there's so many things that we can break down. I want to break down 2 different points in relation to this. It's literally, we're having the conversation. I'm going to say compassion fatigue because what was the most recent incident that we heard? I didn't want to bring the story back. I'm just going to utilize it as reference. But the slap, right? So a lot of people were saying that they were traumatized by what they saw. They were hurt. And I don't think it was the slap itself that was hurt. I think a lot of people's loved ones being hurt on air was the problem. I think we have to clarify that. Chris Rock is people's loved ones. Will Smith is people's loved ones. Jada Pinkett Smith is someone's loved one. Like everybody, who has personal relationships were hurt in that way. But I think they're verbalizing it wrong. Now, because I want to say this, a lot of people who are saying that they're traumatized, I just want to say, is there a level to it though? Because a lot of people that are saying they're traumatized are people who haven't really voiced their trauma about what we saw. Remember, we saw it was wild as hell. Then people marching up to the Capitol on January 6th. The trauma. The trauma. Ooh, and so now it's like we I don't know if there's levels to it. I'm not trying to dismiss people saying that they are experiencing trauma, but I feel personally that, imagine us having to see constantly or choose or sometimes not choose, because some of these videos will just play of somebody being murdered by police officers. These are the kind of, it's beautiful. I'm glad that we get to actually see these cops cold-blooded, like see them just literally
what
with
they
the blood
are
on their hands. Yes. But at the same time, it's like we experience this trauma. We don't get the compassion of taking a day off because what we saw, what we're experiencing, because Black folks in this world are being abused daily.
She's saying there's levels.
Murdered. So I'm saying there is level, but it's almost like I'm glad that we are identifying it though. So many times we've had to have this conversation amongst each other where I've had to say on my platform literally, hey y'all, take a break. This can wear on you. This can literally beat you down today. Take a break. But I know that it's tough. I don't know, but I say that is there levels to it. But I also want to call out the people who are leading the conversation now. This conversation has been being had for a long time, but for some reason, y'all, when white people are starting to say, I'm traumatized. It's hurting me. It's now become a thing because we have been trying to say, for years, especially in the last few years, if you're witnessing this, here are some steps that you can take to take a break from this.
Right.
This is turn off your phone, block the people on social media or mute them for this time being. We have been having this conversation for a while, but it's one of those things I feel like, why is it now important? And I'm not saying that it's not important, but why now after the fact we are bringing
I guess they're saying there's only so much bandwidth they have to have empathy. And James, I'll toss it to you, but one thing that you said, it jumped out to me. I think the levels here, I think people see our trauma in these videos and you just have a portion of this country who's like, we don't care. We can see, they saw George Floyd. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't watch the George Floyd video for probably 7 months. You know why? Because as I started to watch it, I knew instantly I couldn't watch it. I said, this is going to be the one that actually takes me into a place that I don't know that I can recover from. It took me 7 months to actually watch that video. Do you know there are people who watch that video still and say Derek Chauvin did nothing wrong? Yep. See, that type of thing is not only triggering and traumatizing, but it makes it seem like, yeah, Dwayne, you mentioned this. It's kind of like we're out here, we're putting our heart on our sleeves and we're going into battle on behalf of justice and saving Black life. And you got a lot of other people like, it's nothing. Y'all will be all right. But then, Rebecca, when it turns to their compassionate moment, you know, the Will Smith thing is the most traumatizing thing they ever experienced.
Yeah. And it's easy for a lot of people to say, oh, you know, if it's too much, just turn it off. But in the last couple of years, especially with the pandemic, being so disconnected from everybody that you were seeing on a day to day, that was your way to stay connected. So it's harder to turn it off than it was previous to that.
Yeah,
absolutely. Facts. And you know, I was about to say it's one of those things where the white people are traumatized by it because it's just like CRT. Critical race theory, because now y'all are seeing what white supremacy does to you and how it feels to us and what we're going through. So now you're traumatized because you have to see it. You were living it, you heard it talked about, but you didn't think that it existed, that white people can't be racist. Well, here it is in your face on full display where you have to see it day by day like we have to experience it. So look at it, know it that is here and go through it and feel those feels. While us, on the other hand, I take my mental breaks. If I see something on Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is, let me go ahead and deactivate this account because I have to take my mental breaks now. I don't have the same capacity or bandwidth that I used to before the pandemic. It was okay because it was something to do. But now during the pandemic, when everything was happening, I don't know about y'all, I got tired of seeing it. I logged out of everything. Well, about 3 or 4 months because I just couldn't handle it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying. I had to so many times, you know, and that's how I grew this little booty I got. I had to really start just making sure I go out in the streets and I work out and, you know, go running. Y'all know I love to run. So running miles and miles and miles helps me out. You know, working out helped me out. Sometimes you gotta, I remember what was the most recent thing that happened in the whole thing. They didn't even hit the Capitol yet, y'all. We were stressed out during the presidential
elections.
Yes, remember, y'all? We were so stressed out that we was just like, Lord, please let Joe Biden win, God. If anything, if you're gonna do something. God, because the numbers is telling us something else. I don't know why they're telling us that Trump could. God. If you gonna do something, you got literally. I had to turn everything off because I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. We done had Trump too damn long, and I don't want to keep having these conversations or keep feeling the same pain that I felt back in 2016. I don't need that. So whatever's gonna happen, just damn happen. I'm about to go on a run. Sometimes you just gotta let it all go and be like, just forget. I don't care. When I come home and I don't know. I'll see. You know what I'm saying?
But at the same time,
really need to go get myself together.
Right.
You know what? At the same time, like I feel that like I don't know how many times I've deleted Facebook and Twitter and Instagram from my phones, and sometimes I leave it off for like a whole month or something. But it's just it's so weird. What's so weird about it though is that we can't escape it. And it is like, you know, this internet, the social media, every part of our life is so tied into it now, right? The way we connect, it's almost like the isolation that happened during the pandemic, you know, it created all these new communities, which is cool. Our community is one that was created. This morning show created during the pandemic. But at the same time, it's like that connectivity has been used to not only share like this traumatizing these videos. And I hate, Rebecca, you said it, like when these videos start automatically, they take away my chance to protect myself. And I'm thinking about that poor boy who died.
Oh, I didn't see that video. But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I just made sure to avoid that because it started playing by itself. But the thing is like this interconnectivity, it's like we need it. But at the same time, it is wearing so thin on us because of how it's being used right now. Right now, I think it's just being used for clicks. And the more traumatic something is, the more clicks it gets.
And that's unfortunate, because when we're here talking about these things, right, on these platforms, on Black platforms, it's nothing. It's not something that they can monetize on, even though we're talking about it from the perspective of our own experience, but also adding more to it than just 2 lines. And you know what I'm saying? We're giving it a little bit more, but it's not considered something that can be monetized. Can I get some money for my stress? Can I get somebody for but what I see is in the other spaces, when they talk about our trauma and then they say that they're traumatized and they're hurt, and the other spaces where the people look different from us, that's worth something.
Anyway, got one more story. I'm about to say I got one more.
Yeah, I just say all that to say, if y'all feeling traumatized, you know, I hear you, I feel you, I see you, no matter who you are. But specifically, and I have to speak specifically to my Black folks, we wake up every day being Black, and they want us to feel traumatized for that. Already having to take the weight of, you know, fighting for ourselves, our families every single day to make sure that we make it home alive. On top of going into spaces like corporate spaces or fighting to get a job and having to, I can't say put on a mask, but still having to code switch. I know a lot of us have let our hair down and do and those kind of things, but some places are not allowing that. So we got to code switch and make sure that we are able to get these jobs so that we can feed our families, pay our bills, get gas, you know, pay rent, all these kind of things. But if you need to just take a moment and take a day, I advise you, if you can. And I say if you can, because a lot of times, a lot of people cannot do it because these jobs don't allow it.
These jobs are torturous, bro.
Yeah, you just can't do it because your living environment won't allow it. You know, so if you can, I hope that you guys are able to take a break. I know it's been a long 2022. Hasn't been bad, but it's been pretty long.
We're not even 3 months in, but you're right. We're about 4 months in. It's been a hell of a year already. Yeah. Here's another study that ties right into it. Let's get all these sad social media stories out the way, and we'll find something else. Social media may affect girls' mental health earlier than boys, according to this new study. Psychologists find biggest effects in girls' range age 11 to 13, while boys most vulnerable seem to be ages 14 to 15 on social media. Psychologists found that girls who increased their time on social media between the ages of 11 and 13 were less satisfied with their lives 1 year later, with the same trend playing out in boys aged 14 to 15.
The bad part about that is I can believe that.
Yep. I can say this.
I have my nieces are in that time frame, just thinking about them and just going through a lot. I know my niece, youngest niece, well, not my youngest, but she's around that age, that 11 to 13 range, and she got in trouble for something that she did regarding social media. So was trying to keep up with what was going on and how she felt. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, but it's true. It's like really true.
It's a mess.
Yeah. I think it's super sad. I think when I think about children who are exposed to social media so early on, and I don't want to sound like an old head, but I think about what it made me feel like at times. I've done a really good job in my life not to compare myself to people, but in the last few years, when I feel like I've been beaten down, specifically in working in politics, I almost
politics will do that.
Beat me down, baby. Beat me with no edges, okay? But I've had to sit there and compare myself, but I've watched mediocre. I've watched mediocre win. And I've had literally sat there and compared myself to these people, but then I had to go back into my history bag and be like, I've been in this game for over, like as a journalist for over 10 years. And I'm like, I've done a lot. I've worked with a lot. I've done a lot. But the comparison thing as a young girl, a young woman, somebody who's coming out of school and getting online, my hair braider, right? She was sitting with me and I had to minister to her, but I told her, hey, why don't you just, start yourself a YouTube, you know what I'm saying? And she's like, well, I don't like to, she has an accent. She's Asian. Well, I don't like to, really go on, and she's young, go on, social media because, when I go on YouTube and I watch them, I feel angry inside at them. Like, why are you doing better than me? And she said, I don't like to feel that way. She's about 23, and I've known her since she was like about 18. And I've watched her grow, and I had to minister to her. I was like, I understand what you're saying. And if that is something that happens to you when you do watch YouTube, it's good that you are staying away from that. But I want you to practice, you know, at least giving yourself self-affirmations and loving who you are and what you do, because I can honestly say you do the same exact things that they do. And I know sometimes a lot of the young ones, they base their lives off of their following and what the followers are. And I remember back in the day, let me tell you something. When you got 11 likes on the Instagram, you know what that felt like. You know, when your likes went from 10 to 11, how that made us feel on Instagram. It made us feel like we were being seen. It's something that it does to us in this space. Yeah. But I've had to break away, especially during the pandemic. I've had to learn and I had to break away, like creating the space and cultivating something that works for me and not for the world to see. Some days I could be looking bummy. Some days I could be looking, but whatever it is, you're going to get that in my space. But I know what if I, as a grown woman, feel like I have to compare, and like I said, no offense to the baddies with the bodies that have been beautifully and surgically sculpted, you know, but I have to compare myself to those women every day online. Dating, you guys, also has become something that has been torn apart because of social media. We can't even date the same way anymore. You know, men are cheating, women are cheating. We're getting our logic from Justin LeBoy. Like, I don't want my 12-year-old coming online to get her logic about her body, about dating, about you know, anything. I don't want my 12-year-old son, daughter, or however they identify. I don't want them to have to go to social media and, you know, see all these things. And the first thing that happens, especially with these kids, not only with kids, it's us adults, guys. It's us adults experiencing this in the space as well. But it leads to what we see, a lot of kids becoming suicidal, getting bullied, because if it's not homeschool, like, you know, if it's not, them being in school, they're going home and being bullied in their home on social media. It's like, it's so much. We're bullying each other, and we're creating a space in the comment section for people who do nothing with their lives. Not y'all who are watching and supporting us every day, but for those who do nothing with their lives, would get on and no pictures and nothing, but they'll go on and it'll be their comment that cuts you to the deep end. And, you know, it's terrible that, it's terrible what it does to people. And social media is great, but it's terrible what it does. It can do.
It's horrible.
It can do. Absolutely.
Yeah, it can do. So our kids, I want to protect them, but we got to protect everybody who's in that space, honestly. But it's like, it's a free for all. You can hop on Twitter and see porn at 2:00 p.m.
Not even 2 o'clock in the morning.
You know that, Rebecca?
2 o'clock in the afternoon.
I can go on and see porn down the timeline, but this is the same Twitter that has tried to mute people for using the word COON, and that's what I'm like. I don't get it.
Child, I don't understand it either. I swear I don't, because some of the stuff that they censor stuff for, and the stuff that I've seen on there, you can do that, but you're gonna block somebody for using that. Okay, a word, but this is body. Okay, never mind. You know what? It don't make no sense to me.
I mean, I'm not so much against I'm not so much against the porn don't bother me on Twitter so much as the violence. Right. The other thing is, like, this country they would rather show kids all of this violence than for those kids to have a sex education class. Right. They would have games where heads are getting blown off, the social media where like there's so many things that are toxic that we just insert our children into, which is one of the reasons I'm so glad I'm homeschooling now. But then also that I have the capacity to, you know, my kids are at the age where I can still manage that social media thing. But then there's going to come an age where, like, they are inserted into it on their own. And if our kids, not just mine personally, but if we haven't prepared our children for how sick, twisted, evil, demented, cruel this world is, just because, Rebecca, you said it. Some people come into the comment sections just because they have a desire to hurt you.
Cut you to the white meat, baby.
They don't even know. They don't even know.
It'd be with somebody with no picture. They gonna find the comment that cuts you to the white meat, and I don't really like that. So then that's why I've stayed away from the comment section. But people who are kids, they're not gonna stay. These babies,
they're not gonna do that.
Well, they're gonna be in the comment section, and then they're going to start defining themselves by what strangers are telling them and saying who they are. Now the mother's words or the father's words or the parents' words or the guardian's words to the kids is going to hold it's gonna literally be counterfeit. It's not gonna hold any weight for them, and that's where the problem is. Bullying is not nothing new. But it's just that in this space, I just feel like it's so much. It's so hard to run from. It's very, very hard to run from, especially if you have a huge following. I've watched an activist use his space with over 1 million followers to attack a college girl. You send all those people to attack a college girl who made a comment that everybody else was making online. It's things like, and I just couldn't believe it. And she was so tore down that she even said she felt like she couldn't even walk into school, keep her head high. She was feeling so depressed. And that's what I'm saying. These people they be losers that have like 1 million followers, losers. And literally, they'll use their platform and sick those people onto people just because. I hate to see, I love fandom. I love when we love a certain artist and we go crazy about it. Back in the days, all we did was go to their concerts, buy their posters, their J14 posters that are dedicated to that artist. That's what we did back in the day. We cut them out, post them on the wall, things like that. Listen to their music, tape it.
Like she's so old. She don't think she's old enough for that. Was she?
Like she got a cassette tape.
I was old enough for that.
Like what was the hip hop magazine called? Word Up. Like Rebecca used to cut out Word Up magazine.
Yes, I did.
Really, Rebecca?
Yes, I did.
Oh, she got an old soul.
But all of that, I say all of that to say now the kids are or the people, even artists, you guys, we are, and I'm in the place where everybody can get it. I really am. You try with me, I'm just gonna say something and I'm gonna tell Ben to retweet it and you're done. But
listen, now they come after me now too. So
but there are these artists who they can afford to just look the other way because you got money, you got all these things, and one person that lives under a pineapple under the sea literally said to you one little thing like, oh, you trying to be X, Y, and Z, and you take your time out of your full booked and busy day to sick 80 million people on this one person.
Right.
Yeah. That's social media for you, man.
Some people can get it, but we got to choose. But anyways, social media does have a strange logic. Pick and choose your battles.
Let me give you this.
I advise to keep your babies on a parental view because I know some people just allow their kids to get on there. Me too, Ben. I say that.
This is too Facebook. Poisonous.
Do it like Facebook when we had to be in college to get on that platform.
It's one of those things where it's a toss up, and I say that because you can keep them off there yourselves, or they're gonna find a way to get on there.
They'll find a way to get
on there themselves, and then that's when all that stuff happens. So that's why I'm glad the way my brother does it with his kids. He allows them to go on, but it's only on the kids' websites, and he has parental rights, like Rebecca, like you said, where they see everything. So I'm glad about that. But it's easier that way versus then when they go out and get the phone themselves and they start looking at stuff that they shouldn't look at. Because I have another side of the family that going through that. And it's just like, you found what in his phone? And it's just like, oh, hell no. So it's a lot. It is a lot. And I know it can be a lot. That's why I'm just like, maybe I don't want kids.
And my friend was saying the same thing. This is causing her to not want kids because what she would possibly deal with, or what the kids may be exposed to. I don't want to be the mother that has to put my child on lock. I don't want to be that mother. But I will be the mother that says, "Hey, too much phone time. Let's put the phone down. Can I see your phone at the end of every day?" And I know there are parents who are saying that you're invading privacy. But when my kid ain't paying bills, my kid don't even know how to wash their behinds properly. In my household, I am taking control of the phone.
That's mine, all mine.
Look, listen. Let me tell you. Let me tell you something. I'm all about letting my kids get their space and have their boundaries and all that kind of stuff. But I have no requirement as a parent to leave my children vulnerable to these vultures out here. So y'all say what y'all want to say. As for me and my house.
That's a great way to put it. I like that better because it sounds better. You ain't taking, you know what I'm saying? I'm not letting my kids be vulnerable to these vultures out here. I'm not putting them on the front lines for y'all. No.
Just for y'all to take advantage of them mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially. Kiss my blackest.
Yeah.
The blackest part of it.
Yeah.
The blackest part.
That's right below the cheek.
Let's get out of here.
Right below, you know where it's at.
Wait a minute. How is it that we go from we go from righteous to ratchet in 0.0 seconds? It doesn't take any time at all. We all know where that is at. Anyway, it is time for us to go to the after party, isn't it?
Yes. Oh, yeah. We are definitely going to the after party. So
let's do it private today.
Yeah, we're gonna go private today. How long I've been on? 30 minutes. It feels like about an hour. I am.
Oh, hey, no. Listen. This is a good day as any to think. It's 10 o'clock. We can call it here, Rebecca. It's up to you. James, play some music.
I never said to call it. Our Patreons deserve an after party today. We're on the last day of the month.
It is.
Yeah.
Patron party tomorrow night.
Yes, patron party tomorrow night, most definitely.
Bet. Well, let's do it. Let's go to the after party.
I'll see you guys in the after party, and for those of you guys who aren't coming, you should be. Love
That's
you.
right.
Patreon.com/like it or not. Patreon.com/the BPD show. Y'all go ahead and get in there. Bubba's Bankers Volume 1 coming real soon. Thank y'all for tuning in this morning. For those who are coming to the after party, we'll see y'all momentarily. And the people that are not, again, Patreon.com/like it or not. Patreon.com/the BPD show. Your affirmation for today: I am more than my depression. Say that again for you. I am more than my depression. Y'all go be great today, man. It's Friday Eve. Do something fun, do something great. Y'all be great. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Party. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm fresh forever like canned food. Try and tell me what I can't do. I wanna see the world, my vision on Shamu. That mean I got goals that's real big, foes that's real big. Your offer too little, sorry, my soul is real big. Coming into the ring with blows that's real big. I gotta do it big, that's the only way I can live. I gotta do it big. I gotta do it big. I gotta do it big. Gotta do it big, that's the only way to live. I gotta do it big. I gotta do it big. I gotta do it big, that's the only way to live. Come on. Yeah.